The Pride of Thorns, a Kruger Curse. The suffocating heat of the South African savanna weighed on Ethan Carter and his family as dusk bled into night. Their safari jeep had sputtered to a reluctant halt on a stretch of cracked, dried-up riverbed in Kruger National Park, a remote corner of the wild where nature's secrets whispered in the rustling grasses. The oppressive silence was broken only by distant, guttural growls and an eerie sense of being watched from every shadow. Ethan, a rugged wildlife photographer with calloused hands and a secret burden, tried the ignition again. Nothing but the mocking hum of the cooling engine. Beside him, his wife Maya, ex-Marine and ever pragmatic, scanned the horizon, her eyes narrowing as if expecting trouble. Their children, Lily, 13 and tender-hearted, with a budding love for animals, and Noah, 9 and armed with a pocket knife he'd yet to muster courage to use, huddled in the back. A chill rippled through the stagnant air when Ethan noticed something amiss. Their guide's hat, splattered with dried blood, lay abandoned on the ground. The man who had led them into this remote trap had vanished without a trace. Lily's voice broke the silence. I saw her, a lioness, standing upright, like a sentinel. Her eyes were wide, reflecting a terror that went far beyond a child's imagination. Ethan frowned dismissively. It's just the heat playing tricks on your eyes, honey, he murmured, though a seed of unease took root in his mind. Before nightfall, an unnatural congregation began to circle their jeep. Dozens of lionesses, sleek feral forms with scarred pelts and milky white eyes, moved with deliberate silence. They didn't attack immediately. Instead, they worked as if on a dark mission, methodically disabling the jeep's radio, slashing tires, and prodding at the metal with unnerving precision, their low purrs and rasping breaths vibrating in the stifling air. Maya, inspecting the battered hood of the jeep, stumbled upon a series of carved tribal markings. The phrase, "Return what you stole," was etched into the metal with painstaking care. In that moment, fragments of a memory clawed at Ethan's conscience. Years ago, while exploring a roped-off archaeological site, he'd pocketed a lion-tooth necklace, a trinket he'd once thought a harmless souvenir. But now guilt surged like a tidal wave beneath the surface. As night deepened, the savanna became a labyrinth of shifting shadows and whispered warnings. The Carters realized that escape was no longer a matter of physical endurance, but of appeasing a long-suffering, supernatural force. The Thorn Pride, as Ethan would come to dreadfully refer to them, were not mere beasts. They were something far older and vengeful. The tension reached a fever pitch when the Pride launched a coordinated assault. Shards of moonlight flashed against shattered windows as the family cowered inside the jeep. A horrifying scene unfolded when one lioness's jaw unhinged in a grotesque, inhuman motion, revealing rows of glistening teeth that defied natural order. Panic seized them, and in the chaos the Carters abandoned the failing vehicle, fleeing into the labyrinthine darkness of the bush. They ran, heartbeats pounding, as the spectral lions seemed to herd them, herding prey with a precision born of ancient ritual. Their path led inexorably to a crumbling network of caves nestled beneath a gnarled baobab. The interior walls were lined with faded, intricate carvings and warnings in archaic script. The Pride guards the unforgiven. Within this subterranean necropolis lay the burial site that Ethan had desecrated years ago. Amid the cold stone and the ghostly echoes of tribal chants, Maya's eyes fell upon a weathered altar, a relic that seemed to pulse with a faint, unholy glow. Her hand trembled as she recalled the carved command on the jeep. Return what you stole. A sudden, unnatural hush settled over the cave, broken only by Lily's voice, a voice that was not entirely her own. In a trance-like state, she stepped forward, eyes distant yet determined. In a low, guttural tone that resonated with the sound of growling earth, she intoned, "Blood debt must be paid." Her words echoed in the cavern like a prophecy. The true horror revealed itself then. The Thorn Pride converged at the mouth of the cave, their eyes luminescent and filled with a mournful, ancient rage. In the center, the largest lioness, the leader, advanced, its milky gaze fixed on Ethan with a knowing intent that chilled him to the core. This was no ordinary animal. It was a vessel for vengeful tribal spirits, awakened by centuries of betrayal. Maya's mind raced as the revelation settled in. The lions demanded restitution. Ethan's pilfered necklace, a symbol of colonial greed and personal hubris, was the key to appeasing the restless souls of those wronged. But the price was steep. The necklace had to be returned by his own hand to the sacred altar, a sacrifice that would bind his spirit to the cave. With the intensity of a man cornered by his own past, Ethan knelt before the altar. The lion-tooth necklace, which had long pulsed with a sinister light in his pocket, now felt impossibly heavy in his trembling grasp. The leader of the Thorn Pride stepped forward and pinned him down with a force that transcended physical strength. In that moment, Ethan understood that the supernatural pact demanded a blood price, one that he must pay if his family was ever to be free of this curse. "No, please," Ethan choked out, his voice hoarse as he pressed the necklace onto the altar. The moment the relic touched the stone, a surge of spectral energy rippled through the cave, and the lions recoiled as if in pain. Their milky eyes softened, and slowly, one by one, the supernatural beasts retreated into the night, leaving the family shrouded in an eerie silence. Dawn broke with a tentative light, and Maya, Lily, and Noah stumbled out of the cave, their faces etched with grief and relief. As they hurried back to the remnants of their jeep, they dared a backward glance. In the rearview mirror, standing amid the dissipating shadows of the Thorn Pride, was Ethan, still, silent, and unnaturally transformed. His eyes, now an unsettling milky white, reflected the same spectral light that had haunted the lions. He stood like a guardian or a prisoner of his own making. Weeks later, in the quiet darkness of their home, Lily awoke to the sound of low, ominous growling outside her window. The shadow of a lion, tall and vigilant, lingered against the pane, as though waiting for something, or someone, to fulfill an ancient debt. In a dimly lit ranger's office, a solitary park ranger examined Ethan's abandoned camera. Flicking through its final images, his blood ran cold. The last photo captured an uncanny scene. The Thorn Pride, with eyes aglow, parading in the savanna, and at their head, Ethan, his skin etched with intricate tribal scars, a spectral figure leading a pride that defied nature. A barely audible whisper seemed to emanate from the photograph, echoing a chilling truth. "Some debts can't be paid with blood. They demand your soul."